Today I have special guest Amber Bateman. She is a mental health professional and the author of Save Yourself Some Therapy. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? Today we're talking about healthy vulnerability, because when we're able to be vulnerable in a healthy way, it can help us form secure attachments to others, to God, and to ourselves.
How would it feel to finally shift from anxious to anchored in God's peace? To move from shame to set free, from deep grief to comfort, and be secure in your identity in Christ, no matter the season. Feel your burdens ease, your heart lighten. Join us for a one-day virtual Women's Reset and Retreat. September 19th could be the community and breakthrough you've been praying for. Secure your seat today and flourish in hope.
Welcome to the Room to Bloom podcast, equipping you to live redefined, renewed, and restored. I'm your host, Julie Rebboah. Let's tackle this week's topic. So welcome, Amber. I'm so glad to have you as a guest on Room to Bloom today.
Thanks, Julie. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, Amber, tell us a little bit more about you.
I'm a licensed professional counselor. I got my master's from Liberty University. My undergrad is in communications, and then I've had the opportunity to study biblical studies in Chiang Mai, Thailand at a Bible Institute. I'm married to my husband, Greg, for 10 years, and we have 2 boys.
So tell us what healthy vulnerability is and why you're so passionate about it.
I think healthy vulnerability is one of the keys to really growing and changing your life for the better. Because if you can learn this skill and learn how to do it, the doors open wide for growth. Not being able to be vulnerable in a healthy way really kind of hinders that. And it's been a huge, huge part of my own journey and my own mental health journey. So a definition, it's being honest about your emotions in the present moment with reasonably safe people, despite the risk of being perceived negatively. So I'd love to break that down a little bit and kind of talk about each chunk. So let's talk about the emotions part. Just want to mention here that a lot of times we get thoughts and emotions confused. So we'll say things like, I just feel like nobody ever listens to me. Nobody ever listens to me is a thought. That's actually not a feeling, right? So healthy vulnerability is about identifying those feeling words. So an example that would be better is, I feel overlooked and unseen, right? Those are emotion words, and they get to the heart of what we're experiencing more than I feel like you're not listening to me. And then another key is that we want to be honest about our emotions, not the other person's. So if we're in a confrontation or a conflict, it's easy to say something like, you're being angry. When you're angry, it makes me so upset. Or why can't you stop being angry? But instead, healthy vulnerability is about owning my own emotion. So I need to say something like, I feel angry, I feel hurt, I feel upset. And that's going to help bridge the gap between conflict and arguing and actually resolving something and developing a closer relationship.
So you were saying, instead of saying, I don't feel like you're listening to me, because then we're telling the other person that they're not listening.
Correct.
Instead, we're saying, I feel overlooked and unseen. And maybe even that saying, when you're not looking at me, when I'm talking
Correct.
to you, or something like that, to give them a little feedback. But it's being honest about our own emotions and not putting what we think they're feeling and experiencing. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And in a minute, I'm going to give us just a really simple formula for conversing, and it's going to include exactly what you just said there. But you're right. We're saying how I'm feeling, not what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, rather than trying to identify what the other person is feeling and what they're thinking, because that's going to put them on the defensive, right? As soon as I say, you seem like you're so angry, or you're not listening to me, that other person, even if they're a relatively healthy person, is going to feel like attacked and automatically on the defensive. Yeah, so you're right. The second part of my definition is in the present moment. So a lot of times we think healthy vulnerability is talking about the past. So for example, if you're in a small group, a church small group, and you say something like, I used to really struggle with healthy boundaries, for example, or with a lot of shame, and you're talking about it in the past tense, that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. That's opening up. But what's really vulnerable in a healthy way, what's really going to help you build attachment and connection, is being honest about your feelings right now. So instead of saying, I used to struggle with shame, but then I got better, I went to counseling, it might look like, I used to struggle with shame and I kind of still do. Or this is how I've grown in my struggle with shame, but I'm still struggling with this aspect. And so we want to keep it present. And that's a key difference in building that connection with somebody right now.
I love that distinction, because in so many times in Bible study, we want to help other people. And so we use our past experiences. But if we're honest, sometimes those things don't completely go away and they crop up every now and then in our lives. And so by saying, I still do experience that, then it can open up that healthy conversation and authenticity that we so often crave in Bible studies and small groups. And so I love that distinction.
Yeah.
And also this can be really difficult for people who've had childhood trauma, who maybe haven't had emotionally safe relationships in the past. So I know you're going to talk about what that safe person aspect looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next part is reasonably safe people, right? And you're exactly right. This is so hard for those of us that have trauma, especially if you have childhood trauma, because the people that were supposed to be safe, the people that you were supposed to count on, you couldn't. And so being able to recognize reasonably safe people is a skill that's really difficult to learn, but I would say is so important. It's just crucial. And so when we're talking about healthy vulnerability, what I'm not saying is tell every single person you know all of your deepest, darkest secrets. And I've seen that a lot with clients. They think, okay, I'm going to be authentic, I'm going to be genuine, so here's all my junk to the first person that I come in contact with. That's not healthy vulnerability. Healthy vulnerability is taking small steps towards trusting someone. So when you go to a small group, if you don't know anybody there and this is your first time there, it's probably not wise to share all your deepest, darkest secrets like right then. You don't know these people, right? But it is wise, it is healthy vulnerability to start with something that feels kind of small. So it might be, hey, I kind of had a stressful day at work. This and this happened, and gosh, I'm feeling a little keyed up. I feel nervous about being here, right? That's healthy vulnerability. Not that much is at stake, and then you're testing the waters. You're seeing, hey, how does this crowd respond? If this crowd responds rudely, or they're not attentive, or they're dismissive, or they make me feel uncomfortable or unsafe when I've shared something that's not really that deep, then I would say, this may not be your crowd. This may not be the place where you want to go another step deeper. But if they do seem like they're reasonably safe, then I would try maybe next week, share a little bit more and see how it goes, right? We're not looking for people that are 100% perfect all of the time. You're never going to find anybody who's 100% perfect, but you're looking for people that are reasonably safe most of the time with their words and their actions, right? Because a lot of times people will say, they'll talk good, they'll talk as if they're trustworthy, but follow their actions as well. And victims of childhood trauma, survivors often struggle with that. Okay, well, he said he loved me. He said he was a good person. He said he was a Christian. But you're also evaluating his actions as well. Does this person actually go to church? Does this person actually participate? Do they actually have accountability? Are their actions and their lifestyle showing not that they're perfect, but that they're trying to make steps towards being the kind of person that they say they are? So,
That's so good, because whenever we're in a new group, we should test the waters a little bit. And not everybody is the person that we share everything deep and dark with. We have to find those people that feel safe through testing the waters. And I know for me as a Bible study leader, that often begins with me creating that safe environment for others to feel safe enough to share their own. And so I always like to say that whatever is said in Bible study remains in Bible study, that our prayer requests remain private, and that I lead by sharing my own vulnerabilities. And I have to say that it really does feel like a safe space, because people feel free to share in relation to the Bible study that we're doing.
Right. And you model that for other people, and they can kind of gauge, okay, how deep are we going? What feels appropriate? Absolutely.
So for people who are in a Bible study, and not everybody's a mental health professional, we can't expect that everybody to respond in a trauma-informed way.
Right.
But if we're in a Bible study or a church and we're getting kind of signals that, wow, it really isn't safe in this space to share what I've been through, to share what I'm currently going through, that things just seem to kind of be glossed over like toxic positivity, what would you advise the person who really is seeking a safe, deep space?
I would say you can keep looking. If it feels like, hey, this particular small group just is that kind of fake positivity. I mean, I live in the South, and unfortunately, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. We know what to say, but we don't really mean it. There's a lot of gossip. And so if you feel like, I just don't know, again, keep testing the waters, but keep looking too. Sometimes you have to go, you know what? I just don't know that this is the group for me. Sometimes it's personality. Sometimes could be a lot of different things, but keep trying. I've had a lot of clients, and I've been there myself, where it's like, well, I tried small group. It doesn't work for me. Right? Like, I can't do small group. It's too hard. Those people don't get me. You need people. You need healthy attachment. You need friends. You need accountability. And so if this group isn't the group, then you keep looking and you keep trying to find those spaces. It's hard work.
It is, and it takes some time, but sometimes though, I find that certain church cultures are healthier than others.
Correct.
And so I was hoping that you could share maybe some signs of a church that has a healthier church culture.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I would ask myself, do I feel like I can share? Again, testing it out. I'm thinking about some groups in particular where my husband and I shared something that was kind of, I didn't think it was that deep, but it was a little bit vulnerable. And I could tell from the reactions in the room, they were uncomfortable with it. They were like, yeah, we didn't really want to know about that. And they gave off with their face these signals of, nah, that was too much. And then they didn't reciprocate. I think that's another thing you're looking for is, do other people in the group also share vulnerable things? Or is it about competition? Is it about saving face? Is it about how good of a person I am? Or again, what I was saying earlier about, yeah, I used to struggle with all these things, but I'm good now. If you get that feeling, that vibe that like everybody's talking about what they used to be, but they're not talking about what they're currently struggling with, that to me is a red flag. To me, red flags are just if people aren't talking about real stuff that they're going through. Nobody is perfect. So if you're in a church culture where it seems like everybody has it together, that's probably not a good sign. Now, you may not be asking. You might just think, maybe if you struggle with shame, you might think they look happy and they've got it all together. So you can ask. You can ask to have coffee with someone and say, hey, what are some of your current struggles, or what is God teaching you? And if they're not sharing anything, to me, that's not a place you're going to grow. That's not a place you want to be a part of.
Well, some other things that came to mind is if that church has mental health programs, like small groups.
Sure.
If they have a lay counseling ministry or a care pastor. Now, sometimes the larger churches have a budget for a care pastor and the smaller ones don't. But I would say if those kind of programs are present, then that's probably a church that is really focused on helping people heal and grow with Christ by their side. And so for me, those are probably
Wonderful.
really good signs to look for in a healthier church
I love that.
culture.
Yep, absolutely. I totally agree. Yep. And like the church I go to now, they've got a marriage ministry. They do divorce care, grief share. What's that recovery program that's
Celebrate Recovery?
Celebrate Recovery, some of those types of things. Yes, exactly. If you go to a church and there's no talk about mental health, that's like, ooh, because everybody struggles with mental health stuff. And if we're not talking about it, or if there's kind of a shame about going to therapy or getting help, yeah, that's not a good sign.
Or pastors that you've confided in that are using stories on the pulpit without permission would also be a really big
That'd
flag.
be a huge
for me
red
too.
flag. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And gossip to me is a huge one too. If I share something in confidence with somebody and then it's been now half the church knows it, I mean, that's like, no, thank you.
Even under the guise of she needs prayer.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. And they would ask permission first before I would be sharing that with anybody else. So
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah. I'm so glad you shared that, because sometimes seeking safe people, it's a process. So please don't be discouraged. Keep looking, try a different small group, maybe try a different church and see how it feels, because God wants you in a healthy community so that you can heal and grow and develop healthier relationships, especially for childhood trauma, because sometimes that was robbed from us growing up. But God doesn't want it to continue to be something that we don't experience as adults. And it's because the body of Christ is such a beautiful thing when it's operating in a healthy vulnerability, as you say.
Yes. And I would say, think of the safest person that you know, that you respect the most, that you think, I want to be more like this person. And ask them where they go to church. Ask if you can go to their small group. You have to go sometimes with, okay, who's the healthiest person I know? And let me try to go from there.
So good.
Yeah.
So give us that concrete formula that's going to help us improve our communication while practicing healthy vulnerability. Because I feel like if we've got a script we can work from, that's a great starting place.
So the formula is, I feel, and we're using a feeling word here, such as happy, sad, confused, those kind of things. I feel blank, your emotion, when blank. So this could be where you insert the situation. So it might be when you yell, when you leave the room, when you, whatever it may be. Or you could say, if even you feels too harsh, like they're going to shut down, you could say, when we fight, when we yell at each other, when we dismiss each other's needs, would you be willing to blank? So I feel the feeling. When the situation, would you be willing to blank the request? So this is where we have to do our work ahead of time to think through, wait a minute, what do I actually want? What do I actually need here? So I'm going to give some example from my own marriage. Okay, so one of the things we've struggled with is feeling disconnected in the evenings. That's our time to connect. But it's really easy to get on our phones and do our own thing, right? Like scroll, I don't know, reply to text, whatever we're doing, watch YouTube videos. And so an example that we've done is I've said something like, I feel lonely and disconnected from you when we're on our phones at night. Would you be willing to set the last 15 minutes of our night to just talk and be with each other? And what this does is it helps, again, the other person doesn't need to be defensive. It helps to soften that, because I'm saying, I'm not here to attack you. I'm not here to promote myself or to say that I'm right. What I'm saying is I'm struggling, right? I'm owning that I have a need. I feel lonely. I feel disconnected. And I need your help. I'm asking you, would you be willing to do this thing for me? And I have to tell you, it's life-changing. If you can do this with a spouse, I've done it with friends, with your children, with coworkers, with a boss, to go up to a boss and say, I feel really incompetent in this particular area of my work. Would you be willing to help me understand this concept better? Would you be willing to walk me through what your expectations are from this? Almost always, a reasonably safe person is going to go, oh, yeah, I'm willing because I care about you, because you've done the work to lay out before the person you're trying to connect with exactly what the issue is and exactly what you're proposing as a solution, right? And so especially for husbands, and so if we can say, here's what I'm struggling with and here's what I'm asking from you, 9 out of 10 reasonably safe husbands are going to go, yeah, I'd love to do that. I don't know if I can, but I'd love to try. And there you are. There's the connecting point to try to really start working on that. So it's just super, super simple, but it really works.
So that I love that framework because it sounds invitational rather than confrontational. But it also sounds like there needs to be a little forethought before we approach, because first we need to really notice and name what we're feeling.
Right.
And then what the behavior is that's making us feel that way. And then think through, well, what is it that I really want as the solution?
Yes.
So that might take a little forethought, especially if something keeps cropping up in the relationship. That might be a really great way to approach it in an invitational way, because that's how I heard it when you were expressing that. It sounded very non-confrontational at all.
It's an invitation to connect, and it's based on healthy attachment. But healthy attachment, right, is about taking care of each other. So in a marriage, for example, the goal of our marriage is to take care of each other. You have needs, and I want to help take care of your needs. I have needs, and I want you to help take care of my needs. That's our goal. It's not who's right. It's not even better communication. That's not even the end goal in my clinical opinion. The end goal is, how can we take care of each other? How can I show you that you matter to me? And how can you show me that you matter? Because especially if you come from a background of trauma, that's broken. That's really, really difficult. I feel like everything you say is an attack on me. I feel like I have to fight, defend myself, or hide, or people please, or fawn. I have to respond in a way because I don't trust that you have my best interests in mind. And if you're in a marriage or any kind of relationship like that, it's going to struggle. And so if you can build this sense of safety with each other, and this invitational formula does that. It invites us and reminds us that we are not enemies, right? We're on the same team and we're trying to care for each other. It's totally life-changing.
So that's reciprocal care. So healthy attachment, we're taking care of one another. And so I can see how this formula would help you do that in your relationships. Now, if there's a challenging conversation that we've just experienced, or if there's a conversation that maybe we're afraid to broach the subject because in the past we've experienced people not responding in the healthiest way, how can we regulate our nervous systems so that we have more internal peace and confidence to broach the subject?
I know, Julie, this is not easy work. Practicing healthy vulnerability takes years and years to practice. It's not something that we do naturally. And so, yes, be prepared and have self-compassion for yourself that this is going to be hard. This is a huge step. And so I would say start out with that. Tell yourself, this is hard work. Like, I've never been vulnerable in a healthy way with someone before, maybe not even ever. And so this is hard. This is really tough. And I'm doing this intentionally. I've been doing a lot of somatic work recently and studying trauma. I mean, literally, I would place your hand on your heart sometimes. One hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. There's somatic evidence to this with trauma. And almost like a hug kind of thing. Like, it's okay for me to not be perfect. It's okay for me to have needs. It's okay for me to have emotions. My emotions are neither good or bad. They're just emotions. And building healthy relationships and healthy attachment and healthy vulnerability is important to me. So I have the right and the ability to try this, right? And so I would say kind of a pep talk of, and if you need to, put your hand on your heart and almost like, I can do this. This is the right thing to do. And say it out loud to yourself, right? And the saying out loud part is important because sometimes when it's just in our brain, it's not as powerful. But if you can say out loud to yourself, I am going to take a safe risk here. And you know what? If this person doesn't respond well, that's a clue to me that this may not be a really safe relationship. And I might need to start with something a little less vulnerable next time. So if it's like a marriage and it's not a relationship you want to end quickly, you might want to say, okay, I think I need to start with something a little bit less vulnerable next time and keep trying. If it's something that's like an acquaintance and there's not a whole lot of weight to the relationship, you might say, you know, I don't even know if this relationship's a priority to me. Practically, I love the physiological sigh. It's 2 to 3 inhales. So you go, and then a sigh that's an exhale out your mouth. So I'll do it again to kind of demonstrate. Ah. Okay, so that's a really great reset nervous system tool to do. It helps your body go, okay, it's like in the breathing category, but there's something about the 2 sniffs in and the long exhale that's really regulating. I also love any kind of butterfly tap. It's a bilateral stimulation similar to what we do in EMDR, but you can do it anywhere. You know, it could be like right before you go in your car, you're just going to do a few taps back and forth with the deep breaths if you can. And then a shoulder squeeze. This is similar to what I was doing with the hand on your heart, but a shoulder squeeze is kind of stimulating a hug, stimulating a safe presence. And sometimes we have to do that for ourselves. If we didn't have that loving person, that parental figure that was safe, we have to do that for ourselves and show some self-compassion and some self-regulation. Like, it's going to be okay. I'm doing a healthy thing here. And if it doesn't go well, that's kind of on the other person, right? If I follow this formula and I'm going in with humility and an invitation to connect and that other person does not respond well, I have to go, that's healthy boundaries and saying, I can't control them. I can't control other people, and that just might be on them. And I might need to step back and reevaluate if I want to try again, or if this is even a relationship that's worth prioritizing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are some great tips. So, one, positive self-talk aloud, because you're saying it and you're hearing it. And so it's getting into your system in more ways than one. And then you can try some of those somatic techniques that Amber shared, like a hand on your heart, or squeezing your shoulders, the butterfly hug, or the physiological sigh, which, by the way, is on my biblical breathwork for anxiety and stress relief CD, is one of the tracks. And so there's so many different techniques that you can try to help your nervous system feel a little bit calmer and safer. But then also, I think it's really important that you mention that we need to evaluate the other person's response, because it's not always an indication of us, but it's of where they're at. And so if we're not getting a healthy response back, we need to evaluate and take into prayer, what does this mean for my relationship moving forward? And that really depends on how close you are with that person. Right.
Like, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Again, if you're in a marriage, you should probably put in more work into trying to keep going. And I would say get help. You know, this would be a great conversation to have with a therapist if you have one, or a nervous system coach if you have one. You know, hey, I tried this formula. I'm trying to practice healthy vulnerability. This is how it went. This is how the person responded, or this is what came up in me. I'm not really sure what to do with that. It's a great thing to talk about. And if you're in therapy, your therapist would be like, wow, that's a great step. I mean, they're going to be proud of you.
Yeah. And that was another great tip too, that you can always bounce it off of somebody trusted, like a therapist. So tell us a little bit more about where listeners can find out about your book, Save Yourself Some Therapy, and your services.
My website is Delve Mental Health, DELVE mental health, all one word. And on there, I have a few resources, some blogs that I've written. One's on healthy vulnerability, one's on healthy boundaries. But the main thing that is probably going to be most helpful to people now is the book, Save Yourself Some Therapy. And in it, I go over 4 modern dangers to our culture: overstimulation, hurriedness, pressure to maintain an image, and loneliness. And it's very short, very practical, easy read. You can find it on Amazon, really a lot of retailers. But then I also recorded an audio version. I'm actually taking a break from providing therapy right now. I'm in the upstate South Carolina area, but I'm loving doing these podcasts and different ways that I can share with people.
It sounds like a great resource and an easy one that people can dive into. Do you have any last takeaways that you would like to share before we wrap up today?
This is so hard. So be compassionate towards yourself and realize that most people are not good at healthy vulnerability. Even relatively healthy people that we look up to and respect are not good at this. Sometimes survivors of trauma have better skills than the mainstream population because we've had to learn them. And so we have skills that sometimes even the mainstream populace doesn't know. So be aware that if you start practicing healthy vulnerability, people may treat you differently. If they're healthy people, it'll be in a good way. They might step back and go, wow, that person's really authentic and genuine. I want to get to know them more. Or they really inspired me. And your connections may really grow. Conversely, you may start practicing healthy vulnerability and people may be uncomfortable with it. If they have their own issues, if they have their own trauma, they might feel threatened by it. They might go, well, geez, if she's sharing her stuff, that feels like I need to share mine and I'm not ready for that. So sometimes people will pull away because they're intimidated by what they see, but it can frighten people because it makes them think about their own stuff.
And just to know that it's okay, whatever response we get, it'll either draw us closer or maybe pull us away a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's okay because everybody's got to go through their own journey and their own timeline. And so it's not really, I would say, a personal rejection. If that happens, it's more of a state of where that person is. And so I hope that any listener who's experienced that will take it that way. Instead of as a personal rejection. And I know as a childhood trauma survivor myself, I am drawn towards people who are more open and vulnerable. Rather than the ones who are closed off and pretending like everything is hunky-dory and perfect. So
exactly.
I think we have a way of kind of just intuitively finding those people. So
yes. Yep. The more you practice healthy vulnerability, the more you grow, the more you're on this journey to healing and recovery and just being a healthier person, the more your intuition grows and you start to be able to sniff it out quicker and you can just sense, nope, this is not where I want to go. And so, you grow in that.
Yeah. So good. Well, thank you, Amber, for being with us today. And the link to your book is going to be in the show notes. So just go there, click it, and you can grab a copy of Amber's book or her audiobook. So God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
This episode is brought to you by From Bud to Bloom Ministry. It is not a replacement for medical or mental health care. Please seek care from your personal care providers whenever needed. If you'd like coaching or resources, please visit ChristianNervousSystemCoach.com. And please leave a review, comment, and hit that subscribe button to share Room to Bloom with others and keep good content rolling. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, friends, live fully free in Christ.